Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Thank you very much for honoring us by attending this press conference post our National Executive Committee to inform South Africa about our discussions and the decisions the National Executive Committee have actually taken of the ANC. The African National Congress National Executive Committee convened from the 14th to 16th of October 2023 to deliberate on the progress made in implementing the resolutions of the 55th National Conference. The 2019 election manifesto and priorities outlined in the January 8 statement, which include initiatives aimed at improving the delivery of essential services such as electricity, water, sanitation, transport, and the fight against crime. The NEC reflected on our achievements in the past year and renewed our commitment to address challenges faced by our people, including high living costs and the payment of social grants. The National Executive Committee congratulated our national rugby team, the Springboks' victory against France in the Rugby World Cup 2023, and wished them well ahead of their semi-final match against England on Saturday. The NEC noted that the National Executive Committee was being convened on the occasion of the centenary birthday of the late Comrade Moses Mabhida. Moses Mabhida was born on the 14th of October 1923. He's not only remembered as a unionist who played a central role in the development of the South African Congress of Trade Unions, but he also was remembered as an iconic leader of both the ANC and the SACP. September 2023 also marked the centenary of the name change from the African Natives National Congress to the African National Congress. We also congratulate the cricket team, the Proteas, as they also continue to do us proud at the World Cup, and by the most important team in the past weekend. The NEC also received a political overview from the President, covering issues such as the international situation, domestic balance of forces, manifesto review, elections, and the census 2022 results. The tone set by the President informed deliberations aimed at consolidating our interventions to accelerate service delivery, resolve socio-economic bottlenecks, and grow our economy. This was followed by reports on target, robust discussions, and resolutions by the National Executive Committee meeting. Affirming the irrevocable and irreversible organizational renewal of the ANC, the President welcomed the revitalization of all the leagues, including the well-oiled Chief Albert Luthuli House that is holding the center together and providing leadership to the rest of the organization under the stewardship of the Secretary General. At the escalation of conflict between Palestine and Israel, resulting in the deaths of thousands of innocent civilians in both countries. The National Executive Committee reiterates the long-held position on the peaceful resolution of the conflict between Palestine and Israel by creating two states as a permanent solution premised on the 1967 borders. In its deliberations, the ANC further characterized the inhuman call by Israel for 1 million Palestinians to evacuate and desert their homes as deeply concerning. The affected Palestinians have no safe refuge, effectively becoming trapped and vulnerable, akin to mice in a corner ready for a slaughter. The NEC believes such a call is equivalent to an announcement of genocide, as it is very impractical, particularly noting that among the people to be moved out of these parts of Gaza are patients admitted to hospitals, children, and the elderly. The ANC strongly condemns the genocidal crime that took place yesterday in the Gaza Strip, wherein a hospital was bombed. The ANC further calls on government and the international community to ensure organs like the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice act with the required speed to address these crimes against humanity. In this regard, the NEC adopted a comprehensive solidarity program with the people of Palestine to bring about their right to self-determination and push for a genuine resumption of peace talks towards a lasting and just solution. Among the elements of the solidarity program include an alliance-led Palestine Solidarity March on Friday, 20th October 2023 to the Israeli Embassy in Tshwane. Engage with and demand that the International Criminal Court investigate and respond to the cases of Israeli crimes against humanity, as decided at its December 2022 meetings. South Africa, in our capacity as a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council, must ensure that the matter serves before the Council. We call on the International Court of Justice to accelerate the issuing of its advisory opinion on the conduct of the Israeli state against the Palestinian people. We call for a meeting with the South African Board of Jewish Deputies to engage on the current situation and the position taken by the National Executive Committee of the ANC. We will work with other civil society, trade unions, faith-based, and solidarity organizations towards the formation of a global anti-apartheid movement against Israel. We support the efforts by the government, civil society, and ANC structures to mobilize humanitarian support for the people of Palestine. We call for a special meeting of the African Union Peace and Security Council on the situation in Palestine for an AU peace mission to Palestine. We call on the UN Secretary General and UN agencies to visit Palestine and report to the United Nations General Assembly on the humanitarian situation in Gaza. The ANC will release a briefing note that explains and educates our members and South African society on our position on the Israel-Palestinian situation, and will engage with all sectors of society on our long-standing position. We call on the UN Secretary General to visit Palestine and report to the United Nations General Assembly. Human rights violation must be heard in the International Court of Justice. The ANC reasserts its stance on peaceful resolution of this conflict between Israel and Palestine, whilst expressing our solidarity with Palestine for their liberation from conditions that have been characterized similarly to our own historical experience of oppression under the apartheid regime. We condemn the violence against the innocent by Israel and Hamas on civilians. The ANC believes that only peace can resolve the conflict between Palestine and Israel. Still on the international front, the NEC reflected on the global economic outlook, particularly in the context of which it negatively impacts on the livelihood of the world's people in general and African countries in particular. Whilst the world has emerged from the harshest period of COVID-19 pandemic, its negative impact is compounded by the onset of natural disasters, such as earthquakes in some regions, as well as the consequences of climate change. The NEC further reiterated that the Africa Peace Mission to Ukraine and Russia and the convening of the BRICS political parties plus and the BRICS summit have reaffirmed South Africa's global role as a champion of globally shared development underpinned by peace and a human world. The NEC undertook a comprehensive evaluation of its 2019 election manifesto exercise, which is ongoing and characterized by direct engagements with communities and sectors in society. The manifesto review exercise was launched by the ANC president on the 2nd of September 2023 in Dobsonville and was successfully rolled out in all provinces. The NEC noted with humility the massive turnout by our people in all our manifesto rallies. These are ongoing, with the target being 22,500 wards across the country. From the ANC's own research, the review confirms that significant strides have been made on numerous 2019 election manifesto targets amidst the 2019 COVID pandemic and other disasters such as KZN floods. The NEC undertook a robust assessment on the sixth administration implementation of the 2019 election manifesto amidst the unprecedented challenges posed by various factors such as COVID-19 pandemic, the July unrest mainly affecting KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, high fuel prices largely attributed to the geopolitical situation such as Russia-Ukraine conflict that has led to rising crude oil prices, and as well as the KZN floods and other climate change related challenges. A straightforward and irrefutable fact emerged from the 2022 census by Stats SA that life in South Africa is considerably better today than in 1994 or 2019. This is despite the challenges that we have faced as a country. Through interventions premised on the economic recovery plan, South Africa's economy continues to grow amidst a harsh global economic outlook, which resulted in over 2 million jobs lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic. These jobs have since been recovered. There are further projections that underscore the efforts of the current government administration. The prospects are high that in the next few years, the economic growth trajectory initially envisaged in the NDP Vision 2030 document of over 5% will be achieved. The NEC noted that whilst a lot is being done contributing to the economic recovery, communicating these strides to the masses of our people is essential to dispel the propaganda suggesting that the ANC has done nothing, which flies against the scientific evidence entailed in the Stats SA on the Census 2022 report. The ANC calls on the urgent appointment of the Secretary General at the GCIS. The NEC is deeply concerned by the ever-increasing living costs and calls on the state to be attentive and find sustainable and credible ways to ease the burden of high living costs to all our people. The NEC also observed that despite the prices of basic food decreasing globally, the South African market did not lower its prices to the prejudice of poor consumers. However, the NEC is encouraged and looks forward to the process earmarked by the Competition Commission, which will methodically dive into the root cause of this market behavior and possibly remedy the situation. On the critical aspect of load shedding, affecting households and businesses to the detriment of economic growth and development. The NEC acknowledged that the appointment of a dedicated Minister of Electricity was beginning to pay dividends. As a result, there is now a precise schedule to increase the energy availability of all power stations per unit on their installed capacity. The result is that load shedding is beginning to ease, and the staggered admittance into the grid of generation units from Kusile power station will add over 3,000 megawatts of power to the grid. Regarding electricity distribution with municipalities, the NEC noted with grave concern the scourge of vandalism and theft of transformers in areas such as Soweto and Sidibeng and many other areas in and around Gauteng, resulting in blackouts affecting thousands of households over several years. The introduction of the Electricity Amendment Bill will help further consolidate electricity distribution. The NEC received various interventions from ESCOM and the Gauteng provincial government to replace those transformers and re-energize township households and businesses. Let me qualify this point. It's not ESCOM directly. It's through the Minister of Public Enterprises, which you reported that false report, that his report was not acceptable. The ANC further called on ESCOM and Gauteng provincial government to align their efforts at replacing the stolen and vandalized transformers. A report which we welcomed, that per week, the Gauteng government, working with ESCOM, as it was reported in our meeting, they now have a capacity to replace more than 14 transformers as per areas affected in and around Gauteng and in different areas in the country. The NEC also called on an accelerated approach to such transformer replacement, whilst calling on the South African Police Service to formulate a program to secure all transformers and other infrastructure facilities at the risk of similar theft and vandalism. The NEC also received a report with regard to the state of SOEs and have scheduled an important discussion to a special meeting to be held before end of November that will focus on matters related to Integrity Commission as well as state of SOEs in relation to their revitalization and as well as their restructuring and integration going forward. So there was never a discussion in detail form about the restructuring of the state-owned assets as it was reported in the media. The National Executive Committee received an extensive account on measures to address water and sanitation delivery across the country. We are encouraged by the positive developments of progress made in as far as water provision is concerned, and can confirm that South Africa is not faced with any imminent crisis insofar as the provision of safe drinking water is concerned. We call on government to use available legal instruments to assist and intervene in municipalities where there are challenges of water and sanitation. The NEC welcomed the program to move freight from roads to rail amidst challenges on Transnet Rail. The NEC further welcomed the progress on Operation Valazonke to close all potholes. The program to transfer provincial roads to SANRAL, which has proven efficient in refurbishing and maintaining roads, has equally been welcomed by the NEC. The NEC believes the introduction of technology, nanotechnology on gravel roads will further improve the conditions of rural roads. The NEC welcomes the advances in rolling out trains in various corridors, which will tremendously help reduce the traveling costs of commuters. This includes the installation of safety and logistics measures such as signaling systems. The NEC welcomed the report on the imminent deployment of over 8,000 security personnel to protect passenger rail infrastructure. The NEC further has welcomed the reconfiguration and stabilization of the Transnet board and believes this will help accelerate the rail challenges and the consequent challenges of constrained transportation of bulky goods out of the country, particularly minerals resources such as coal. We as well welcome the appointment of the TNPA board, which will accelerate the corporatization program in the ports as implemented by the Department of Public Enterprises together with the Department of Transport. As you all know now that the TNPA will have its own board, and then it has got its own CEO in terms of corporatization in order to open up development and the delivery and the expansion of our ports and harbour areas in the country, so that South Africa can now reclaim their number one status as the best in terms of ports in the African continent. The NEC noted that to ease the constraints at our ports, we need investment beyond the 2 cranes to accelerate delivery and loading of goods and from our ports. On efforts to fight crime and lawlessness, the NEC expressed concern about the ongoing phenomenon of illegal mining zamazamas and directed law enforcement agencies to deal decisively with the scourge. There is a massive program that is implemented by the Department of Safety, particularly the Minister of Police, working with others in the country, called Operation Chanel. You know that a lot of people have been arrested, but we have said that government must do everything in its power, including unleashing the army to deal and to do away with the zamazamas once and for all. And we said that our government must work in collaboration in terms of all other departments, including mechanisms of intervention, of how we can preserve and make the mines that have closed down to be accessible to small-scale business people in order for our people to also benefit out of that. The NEC expressed satisfaction with the bold steps being taken by the security cluster in tackling the phenomenon of zamazamas, including many other violent crimes in our country. Comprehensive social security is fundamental policy of the ANC. Lifting our people out of poverty is the basis on which the ANC is considered the people's movement, umbutho wesizwe. In this regard, the NEC noted progress made by both Postbank and SASSA in resolving the technical glitches recently experienced in the disbursement of social grants to some of the deserving beneficiaries. Providing a safety net for the poor and vulnerable is a non-negotiable. Municipalities and action plans for each of these municipalities was welcomed. Our deployees were urged to report further developments on an ongoing basis. The effective functioning of state-owned enterprises is a cornerstone of a capable developmental state in South Africa. Governance and leadership of SOEs is of concern to the ANC. In this regard, the National Executive Committee took stock of the current state of SOEs, particularly ESCOM and Transnet. The NEC has directed its deployees in government to stabilize SOEs as a matter of agency and to proactively undertake actions that inspire public confidence in the capacity of the state to manage and deliver on the mandate of public entities. Regarding fiscal management, the NEC has received a detailed account on the proposed cost containment measures by National Treasury. The NEC directed that an important balance between prudent fiscal management and fiscal discipline and delivering on public goods and services is very much important. Importantly, the NEC emphasized that what is being undertaken are cost containment measures and not austerity measures. And the President spoke at the closing with regard to the report that we're running out of money, and dispelled that. Equally, Treasury have done the same. The NEC commended efforts to strengthen security and tighten our borders through the Border Management Authority launch, which will help secure our borders against illegal immigrants. While South Africa is receptive to all immigrants, irrespective of country of origin, South Africa, like all other countries, cannot continue to disregard illegal immigrants, which is a big challenge that we're facing as a country. Some illegal immigrants have been central to illicit mining, often constituting themselves into highly and dangerously armed gangs that terrorize our communities while stealing our mineral resources with impunity. The NEC received assurances from its deployees in the Peace and Stability Subcommittee that the state has constituted a multidisciplinary task force to combat this illegality. From the perspective of illegal immigration and illegal mining, what has become evident is that technology is crucial in easing the border processing of goods and migrants and combating any acts of illegality, such as the transit of illegal goods. The Department of Home Affairs must accelerate technology deployment on all border management programs. The ANC remains committed to organizational renewal and will continue engaging all veterans, including former presidents of the ANC and the country. The ANC is committed to improving integrity management within its ranks. The work of the Integrity Commission is at the top of the agenda of the ANC. In this regard, the ANC will dedicate a special NEC to focus solely on the work of the Integrity Committee. In the next 2 weeks, a virtual meeting of this nature will be convened to focus mainly on the integrity issues, as well as a briefing on the transformation and integration and restructuring of the state-owned assets, including the interventions that have been reported in our NEC that have been made in terms of maintaining stability at Transnet and all other entities. You will know that we've got a national conference resolution that in our restructuring, some of these entities must be aligned to principal departments that have got to do with the work that they do. ESCOM must go to energy, and Transnet, and if SAA was still an entity of state solemnly, they must go to the Department of Transport. So SOEs and the Department of Public Enterprises, in the long term, as the President said, will diminish, and in our restructuring plans going forward. So the discussion about the SOEs and the discussion about the restructuring of the state going forward, post the election, is a top discussion on the agenda of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. During this process, the NEC was unanimous on the importance of maintaining discipline among our leaders, members, and structures. This discipline is crucial in instilling confidence in the ability for the ANC to lead society. The ANC NEC dismissed with contempt the negative narrative peddled on matters of deployment, wherein a false dichotomy contrast is created between professionalism and ANC cadres. The ANC assumes a binary outlook on professionalism and cadership, simultaneously as concurrently relevant in its deployment considerations of leaders in any strategic position. A standard policy applicable across the political spectrum here in South Africa and abroad. It is therefore disingenuous to suggest that by being cadres, such deployees fall short of appropriate deployment. The deployment policy of the ANC and the cadre policy has been distorted, meaning that the ANC imposes on the state its own cadres. Our cadres, professionals, and so on, wherever they are deployed, they compete with everybody. So they don't get preferential treatment. So do not conflate the party and the state, meaning that the ANC runs the state. That will be tantamount to macromanagement of governance and the state, which is what we don't do. But what we are doing is that we encourage ANC cadres with requisite capabilities to compete in the sphere of strategic deployment within government. And it is not always the case that people who compete in these strategic positions within government are ANC people all the time. And it is not the case. As part of the renewal of the organization, the ANC has set a thorough and stringent criteria for selection of candidates to parliament and legislatures. We are pleased to progress to date, wherein 67% of our branches have met the required threshold in nominating candidates. This progress is ongoing. This past Sunday and this weekend was our deadline for holding of general meetings to elect public representatives for National Assembly and provincial legislatures. The active engagement and participation of the ANC in the battle of ideas is critical. It not only underscores the party's commitment to a democratic and inclusive discourse, but also serves as a platform for shaping policies and strategies that are reflective of the needs and aspirations of our people. This participation contributes to a deeper connection with the masses, allowing the ANC to remain responsive to changing dynamics, challenges and opportunities in the ever-changing political climate. Ultimately, it is through the battle of ideas that the ANC can continue to drive meaningful change and contribute to the betterment of South Africa, informed by scientific research and evidence. The ANC aims to participate in the battle of ideas. The O.R. Tambo School of Leadership is a school the ANC that it has established. The ANC's ability to navigate challenges is fundamental in determining the organization's success in its renewal efforts. The O.R. Tambo School of Leadership plays a pivotal role in providing political knowledge and understanding to its members. We have strengthened our political education efforts by appointing David Makura as the head of political education. The NEC have endorsed Makura as the head of and the principal of the O.R. Tambo Political School, a decision that the board led by Kgalema Motlanthe will be expected to implement. The January 8 statement will be delivered in Mpumalanga in terms of the state of readiness for 2024 elections. Next year, January 8, will be held and delivered in Mpumalanga. Following that, the Maihlome rally of the ANC will be scheduled to be held at KZN's Moses Mabhida Stadium. And the Siyanqoba rally of the ANC will take place in Gauteng at FNB Stadium. In the dates that will be announced after the January 8 statement in Bombela, in Mpumalanga, next year, January. We have also endorsed and appointed the RTT in Ekurhuleni with full REC powers. The RTT in Ekurhuleni is led as a convener by Dr. Kakaza, and the coordinator is Comrade Jongi Dlabati as the coordinator of the RTT with full REC powers. The NEC reaffirmed its commitment to the continued unity of the alliance. The Revolutionary Alliance is the bedrock on which we can achieve a national democratic society. To this end, several alliance-led activities are underway, including the planned Alliance Summit, support for the SACP Red October campaign, and various activities, COSATU and SACCO revival, wherein the ANC has played a pivotal role. As the ANC will continue to engage organized labor and the alliance on the steps that must be taken to move the country forward regarding economic growth, employment creation, and improving the working conditions of all workers. In this vein, the NEC has considered the need to reassess our stance on the Municipality Amendment Bill, barring workers from contesting a political office. We are encouraged by the continued support the liberation movement has received, particularly from the working class organized formations of our country. In conclusion, the National Executive Meeting closed by discussing and reasserting our commitment to accelerated service delivery on electricity, ending load shedding, water provision, sanitation, combating crime, and road infrastructure, reorienting all SOEs to be developmental and report to be submitted to the NEC in this regard. We also emphasized the efficient payment of social grants as the important thing that government must do. A service delivery unit at HQ will oversee the service delivery on the ground. All our meetings going forward, as it has been the case since our election into the National Executive Committee and the new NEC, since from last year, of which by November this year, we will be 1 year in office. Our focus will focus not on November, December. This year will be 1 year in office. Our focus has been on service delivery and changing the lives of the people for the better. And our focus as a National Executive Committee in driving government to focus on this task is beginning to yield the results. Focus on the economy, focus on meeting the basic needs of our people, which led to the reversal of load shedding. And of course, our time frames we spoke about was December, but we're encouraged even before we reach that December that there is positive feedback we're getting, not just talk, but practically, from what we see on a daily basis. We are fighting load shedding, not for elections, but for our economy and for the sake of our country. And that is what we have said. The ANC National Executive Meeting ended with a reminder that unity of purpose among our members and leaders is crucial in achieving good service delivery and in implementing the ANC election program. A strong organization is key to achieving this. The ANC's membership system will move from barcodes to biometrics. During the NEC meeting, there was a comprehensive and transparent evaluation of the advancements made in executing the ANC's election manifesto and the resolutions established at the National Conference. The NEC has committed to continue strengthening efforts in enhancing the delivery of services to our people as the term of the sixth government administration nears its conclusion, and with the upcoming national general elections nearing closure. This reflects the party's dedication to ensuring that the promises made to the people are upheld and that governance remains effective throughout this democratic period of transition. The ANC mourns with heavy hearts comrades who have passed on since the last meeting of the National Executive Committee on the 7th to the 8th July 2023. We honor these dedicated cadres who devoted themselves to the organization, even to their final breaths. Their contributions, dedication, and commitment to our cause will forever be remembered. We honor the memory of Auntie Sally Kiboni Upe Sinna Nombulelo Tyawa Tebuo Mahlatsi Misere Mugo Dikago Pule Temba Wilson Stima Thabo Mabasa Farouk Mier Kali Hanekom Mfanelo Ndlela Thembi Moko Mapungu Mkhize Jig Kholeng, Vuisi Leskei, Ami Thornton, Zef Makhetla, Important Mkize, Matsidiso Sikhale, Paul Lekhwape, Regina Pelinomi, Julian Bahula, Aziz Pahat, Zolega Mandela, Andrew Ragavalo, and Lydia Komapeng Ngwenya. We extend our deepest and most sincere condolences to their families and loved ones as we share in their grief. We stand in solidarity with those who are mourning the loss of their loved ones, as we know that losing a loved one is never easy. We would also like to express our condolences to Comrade Violet Siwela on losing her husband. Comrade Violet Siwela is a member of our National Executive Committee. We remember Comrade Jesse Duarte, who would have celebrated her 70th birthday on September 19, 2023. This is the first time we have celebrated a birthday since her passing on July 17, 2022. We honor her memory and the invaluable contribution she gave relentlessly to the African National Congress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, SG, for that. I will now turn to you, members of the media, for your questions. And as always, I start to my left. So I would start to my two brothers over there. We'll start with you, and then we'll go to yourself. Please introduce the name of the media house you're representing.
I'm representing Turkish.
Sorry? It wasn't clear. Please reiterate that.
Representing Turkish.
Turkish.
Turkey, from Turkey.
All right, thank you.
SG, why there has been no condemnation from South African government of the bombing Baptist Hospital in Gaza, and many condemned. And secondly, about ICC, now they are ICC prosecutor considering probing Hamas, but not Israel, because Israelis are not a member of ICC. Previously, you told government to withdraw ICC. So what do you want to say? And main countries, USA or China, Russia, they are not members. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hope you're able to catch that.
Good morning, SG. Firstly, I just wanted to maybe hear it's long from the citizen. Just wanted to hear your take on Advocate Fikile joining the EFF. Then maybe the second one, in January, during the ANC breakfast meeting, you said ministers that would not be performing would be shipped out and would be removed. I just want to then hear from you.
Who is this person?
Lunga, over there, citizen.
I have been distracted.
I just wanted to hear from you that were there any ministers that during the NEC that their reports they were rejected, and also the article that wrote about the issue of Minister Kodam, some of the NEC members rejected this report. Just want to hear from you why has it not been removed, as you promised the ministers that will not perform and will perform. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any hand to my left, so I will move this way. And I think I saw you first, Sidi.
Thank you. Sidi Madia from News. My first question is just around what we saw with regards to the Russia-Ukraine conflict is this massive push and pull towards the ANC government about where it ought to stand and whatnot. That was coming to take place next month. Are there any judges on what would be expected of your government in posture and language around the current conflict that's unfolding between Israel and Palestine? Sticking with that as well, does the ANC feel this constant pressure, push, to be aligned somewhere? Because when you look at the narrative, there's a constant need to place you alongside Hamas, though you say our solidarity is with the people of Palestine. Yet you're put in a particular way. You've already condemned the actions of Hamas. Yet there's this narrative. Do you feel the same way? You were speaking about the fact that you'll delve deeper into the SOEs at a later stage. The question around the electricity minister being closer to ESCOM, from my understanding, is one that arises from
Thank you very much, Thidi. Then take it to Lizeka over there.
Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, it's still morning. This is a time from the Mail and Guardian. SG, you speak about positive feedback which you receive from communities, and you say that's categorical. Did you discuss as the NEC the projections from pollings such as EPSOS, the Social Research Foundation, which seemingly have put your election prospects, particularly in the two major provinces, KZN and GP, at the low 30s and 40s? Did you discuss that? And if you did, do you have your own internal research which corroborates this, or is refuting these polls? And in terms of the war against Hamas, I don't know how to phrase it these days, but President Joe Biden has arrived in Israel, where he seemed to support the Israeli state unconditionally, speaking about how he believes that it's the other side which bombed the hospital in Gaza, northern Gaza. What is your reaction to the West, or particularly the West, which is your trading partners, having this unconditional support of Israel, seemingly not even questioning Israel in terms of the bombing, the explosions which violate human rights laws?
Thank you. Lizeka, can I take it to Sunday World?
Thank you very much for my sharing, Mr. Chief, and good morning to everyone. Perhaps, SG, let me start with the changes there at the World Tambo School, the introduction of Mr. David Makura as the head, and the rooting out of another David Masono in this regard. What was wrong with Mr. David Masono? Because many argue that he was actually very competent in the role that he was playing there. Perhaps as a rider to that, the removal of competent people, you speak about SOEs as a concern. And you told us that the Minister of SOEs was there and made the report. There's many, questions around the competency of Minister Pravi Botha. When is he being removed as a Minister of Public Enterprises? In fact, is the ANC scared of Minister Pravi Botha? The issue of conditions, as you speak about the reaffirmation of the existing framework of the ANC on conditions. What is this framework? Because also in this regard, there's a lot of confusion and contradictory statements as to, especially as it relates to how the marriage between the ANC and the EFF and the small parties, others calling for it to go, others saying it's the best strategy. As it relates to that, what is this ANC framework on conditions? Are you in alliance with the ANC, with the EFF, or are you rejecting it? What is the way forward in a very direct and straightforward manner? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. SG, could I leave it at that? We'll have a second bite, but can we start with those? You?
Thank you very much. Starting first with the Turkish media, the condemnation of the bombing. In our statement, we are very clear that we condemn the bombing of a hospital. And we know that jihad and Hamas have distanced themselves from reports that they were part of the bombing of the hospital. It is Israel's account that the hospital was bombed by jihad. It doesn't seem like there is evidence to that extent. There's been a lot of contradictions. First, what we know is that in this mass evacuation, that hospital was targeted by Israeli Defense Force and gave an order that that hospital must be evacuated. And there were conflicting reports later on, before the bombing, where there was a statement that in the hospital there are Hamas people who have hidden themselves inside the hospital. And then immediately after that, when we wake up late yesterday, it was followed by massive bombing. And then the account for that is that it was rockets fired by Hamas out of the hospital, and whether in the exchange of fire or to try to neutralize those rockets, then you don't know whether an account of it means that Israel Defense Force then attacked the hospital. But the fact we know is that people were ordered to evacuate. And in this particular instance, we condemn the bombing, and we think that the world must descend through the United Nations to Palestine and see humanitarian disaster that is going on there. And the actions of the Israeli government led by Netanyahu, which have led to the killing of innocent people. The ANC have condemned the killing of people in Israel. We don't and will never stand on the side of acts of terror and killing of innocent people. Our allies in Palestine is PLO and the Palestinian people in general for their self-determination. We are in support of the Palestinian people because in our view, which we have held over time, they are oppressed people. They are subjected to apartheid, and we have been firm about it over the years. Even before Nelson Mandela pronounced on it, speaking right from Ramallah, the ANC cannot and will never be on the side of those who perpetrate violence and those who perpetrate apartheid and those who perpetrate the oppression of the Palestinian people. We are and we will be forever for the self-determination of the people of Palestine, who deserve a state, which we have said, two states living side by side. And that is what we have worked for over the years. So we condemn the bombing. We join the communities of the world in condemning the bombing in Gaza, worst of all, the bombing of a hospital. Our statement is very clear what we are calling for. We are calling for the investigation of these acts of terror by Israel, and at the same time, penalties must be imposed to anyone. There is a penalty imposed on the Russian president because of what is happening in Ukraine. We must stop this hypocrisy. Putin could not even come to our country because he was the International Criminal Court have imposed a sentence that he must be arrested. And that is what it is. What is happening in terms of Israel and Palestinian? A state declaring war and killing innocent people. And that is what, as the ANC, we are opposed to. On Hamas and Israel government, and in particular Hamas going to ICC and not Israel. That is the hypocrisy that the world needs to stand up to. We need a rules-based system, where in which through the United Nations we have got to lead from the front and ensure that the hypocrisy that we have seen in the world unfolding in the conflicts that we have seen over the years must be thwarted off and be dealt with decisively. And that is why we call for the Secretary General to visit Palestine and to show this solidarity. And the extent of humanitarian and human rights violations we are seeing there, it is something else. And we as South Africa, and in particular the ANC, we are in solidarity with the people of Palestine. We condemn the genocidal actions that have been undertaken by a state of Israel against the innocent Palestinian people. Daylight for the world to see and declare genocide. People must not have water. People must move, evacuating 1 million people at a go. What is that? That is genocide. And in our view, and that is what we stand against. We're not going to comment about people joining political parties because we fought for the freedom of everyone to express themselves. We are not involved in whoever chose to join whatever political party, because we will now have to account whoever was a judge before joined the political party, whoever was a prosecutor joined the political party. We can't. We are not a party of hypocrites. We fought for democracy. And we pride ourselves under the ANC government that this state that we lead and this government is the most democratic government you can ever see in the world. Most democratic government, yeah. So whoever joined the political parties within their right, it's in politics, will meet them as opposition. We as the ruling party, the African National Congress. So we're not going to, we are not worried by that. Ministers have been called and will be called from time to time to account on the banning platforms. We have dealt in this NEC with a challenge of water and sanitation. We got a comprehensive report about the work our government is doing. We're no longer theorizing. It's like asking a person for a ride in a bus, and you ask when you enter into a bus, where are you going? When it is written, it's going to Randfontein. It's all clear to us what are the issues that our people need and ANC need to accelerate. We've provided basic services for years and sanitation. As the population grows, these challenges also increase. New settlements emerges. And we might have defeated bucket system, but it is back with us in certain areas because there are new settlements. So as the needs and the society increases according to census, the demand side also increases in terms of social needs of our people. So the ANC has prioritized that. So we call ministers, we call the Minister of Water and Sanitation to give us progress. Is there a crisis of water? We are encouraged by the reports there is no crisis. There have been glitches and interruptions in the rollout of water in the different communities. And it has affected a number of communities in Johannesburg here as well. So, but all of those issues are being attended to. That include as well sanitation. We have also received reports in relation to matters that are related to SOEs, and I've given a report already on that with regard to Minister Pravin Gordhan. Pravin Gordhan as a minister of the ANC is not feared. No other minister is feared by the ANC. That is why we call ministers, they give account. We don't change ministers as and when it has to happen. We are focused now on delivery. We are left with a couple of months. This government, in terms of its time and all of that, will be over. We have raised our issues in relation to stability. In terms of SOEs, we've got full commitment from our ministers and from the president that these matters are attended to, they will be resolved. In the next meeting of the NWC, there will be progress. We're no longer playing where people repeat themselves, give long philosophical account about the state of affairs. We want progress. If you say to us, like Cindy will do, trains are moving, we are recovering the lines, vandalism we are fighting, we are bringing security, That's the report people want. That trains in Mabopane are working. Trains in KwaZulu-Natal are coming up. Vandalized facilities in terms of train stations are being fixed. That's the report we want. And I saw that there was a report by one journalist that said that I apologized. I didn't apologize to anyone in the NEC. And you are correct about the fact that I was addressing a matter which could have given an impression that we were pitting ministers against each other in how we presented the matter. Comrades understood, because we shouldn't do that. But we are very hard. We are hard on delivery, and it's non-negotiable. Running government and replacing people will account to nothing if you understand how government works. Budgets have passed. Ministers and their DGs must ensure that they get to be implemented. The next financial year will be in April, probably in the middle of the campaign. So if you change somebody now, it's like really changing socks for nothing. You know, the people who are implementing the programs of the state, it is the machinery that is there now, ensuring through parliament and everything else that the things that the ANC have committed that it will do, it really does meet those things. As we call ministers, which is something that is not done, we have started doing it now. We are asking them reports about how far are you, Cindy, with trains. She's doing a marvelous job. It is clear Razbataz was there. You know, she's doing a fantastic job. You yourself can account to that. Cindy, the Minister of Transport, doing a fantastic job. Trains are coming back. Programs are being implemented with the provinces in terms of addressing the challenges of potholes and all of that. That is happening. It's not propaganda. That's what is happening. Operation Valazonga is in full swing. It's happening throughout the country. It's been implemented. When we call Senzo, he gave us not philosophy. Now, you know Mzimvubu Dam in the Eastern Cape. That project was stalled for many years. It's now back on track. Money allocated. Mzimvubu Dam is back on track. And that is the work that has actually been done. We speak to our Minister of Police. We say we want action with regard to Zamazamas. That action must be felt in our communities. Even if it means we must bring soldiers and all of that, these Zamazamas must be dealt with. We encourage. Operation Chanela is in full swing. It's not true that police are doing nothing about the scourge of heist. Police have been in direct danger and confrontation with these criminals who are doing cash heist and so on. And police have emerged and stamped the authority. And that is the sort of authority we are seeing. But fighting crime cannot be the task of the police alone. We have said to our structures, as we talk to our communities, they too must come to the party and work alongside the police. But through our own efforts of mass mobilization, street committees, and all of that. And some of the communities are doing a good job in relation to that. Ministers are being evaluated. Ministers will be evaluated. Ministers, after the list has been finalized, as the ANC win government, when we come back, there will be proper analysis of the performance of people. At the present moment, we are not only putting pressure, we are holding our government accountable in terms of delivery. And that's what we're doing. You look at our agenda, zilch, squabble. We fight about delivery. We fight among ourselves fiercely, robustly about delivery. We tell ministers where to get off. So there was no apology. It's a question of matter being raised and giving an impression that how I wish these people who give you reports in the dark, you can sometimes come to me, because I keep the records, you know. They give you reports and all of that about us. But I can tell you from Saturday, jam-packed, all our meetings, you can check them. Our meetings, since we came into office, there's been change. Even if I have to say it, it has been about service delivery. That's what we've been fighting about. Even if I have to quarrel with the president as the SG at Luthuli House, I will, around service delivery. That president, here we are not moving, here we are moving, and all of that. And the center must hold in government. We're not micromanaging government. Our agenda has changed. It's about service delivery. We call ministers, no philosophy. 30 municipalities, Tembi, you have identified them. These are the interventions we said you will undertake in these municipalities. Give us the report. How far are you? We don't want to deploy who is where and all of that. How far are you? That is the report we want. And then Lindizulu, social grants. What happened? Glitches. Explain. Post-bank. No. ANC, the issue is resolved. Montli Gumugubele tells us that the matter is resolved. About 500,000 people did not get they were affected by these glitches. And he tells us as the NEC, that matter is resolved. We said, you say it's resolved? He said, yes, it's resolved. And we gave you these ministers. As they come to the NEC, we ask them to brief the media. Not propaganda, because when you deal with service delivery, you can't afford to lie. Because if you say trains are running, the people of Naledi are going to say you're lying. You are just sitting there the whole weekend convincing yourself and making you feel good among yourselves. These things are not happening on the ground. As the ANC, as we go around with the report back, I address the people. I say 350, they say, yay, that thing is no longer coming. And then I ask the ministers, what's happening? They explain. Like they have explained this past weekend to us, 350, what is happening, it is still being rolled out, but there were double people who were receiving this thing. You are receiving a grant on the other side, and then on the other side, the terms and conditions of this 350 is that it must go to somebody who doesn't have anything. But if you start having 2,000 every month in your account, then the 350 stops. Because 350 is meant for people who don't have. So once you start having 600 every month, they look at your account, then they stop it. So we then understand the dynamics of how these things happen on the ground. As and when we visit communities, we talk to communities, we engage with communities, we then get what are the defects in terms of service delivery and so on. So you have delivered the roads, but that road you delivered is gone. And then you've got to check on that against the work that is being done on the ground. So ministers are being held accountable. There's nobody who does as they wish. We want the answers. You are asking questions to the ANC. We must provide answers. If there is chaos at Transnet, who must account? The minister is the Minister of Public Enterprise. And public enterprise in the long term, in terms of what the president said, was that is going to diminish. But it must be taken holistically. Remember when the president presented, because we often attend these press conferences and we forget quickly. The president, when he restructured his cabinet, he said that some of the arrangements we've got are temporary. Over time, especially when people were raising the issue about Sputla, he said this thing is going to change. We are going probably to have one big state company. Those things must be discussed and approved by the ANC. The ANC in its conference have pronounced on this issue. It's not like we'll be discussing this restructuring of state assets without resolution. We've got our resolutions. They are there. And we explained that Sputla's matter is temporary. And the long term where we are going is to align. But at the same time, it's probably time that public enterprise, we no longer need it any longer. And therefore, we are in that period. President explained that. when he spoke about Sputla and when he delivered his cabinet in terms of the ministers who came in. TD, with regard to powers of ministers and so on, Sputla's powers is something on the table of the president, and he's dealing with that matter all the time because he's dealing with load shedding. So as the need arises, the president will discuss those issues with them. And it was expressed in the NEC, the issue of Sputla and ESCOM and all of that. Those views did arise, but the president did respond from the side of government that we are considering that and we are moving in that regard. So we have been comforted as the ANC that matters have been handled at that level. Of course, we emphasize with speed, but with speed for us means doing away with load shedding decisively, but scientifically, not touch and go. That has happened. We have dealt with load shedding, and then when other people come, then they realize that no, it's not been dealt with. If Brian and Coco dealt with load shedding, why did we go back? Because they should have dealt with it once and for all. We shouldn't go back. If Sputla and the team at ESCOM with Praveen as ministers are working to do away with ESCOM, not with ESCOM, do away with load shedding, we need to deal with that. We can't relate to people's experiences. We don't fear anyone. I don't want to use that word, fear what. If you've got an experience with a minister, I myself was a minister. I've had my own experiences with different boards. Probably they don't like me. Others used to leak and lie to you about me, especially around PRASA issues. And my pressure at PRASA was to make things happen. And that's why you had to see me there. And I used to tell them when I was minister that I won't even come here, you won't even see my jacket. The problem I come here is because this place is a broken place. And we've got to get things going. And I'm happy that Cindy, because he was my deputy, we went together and all of that. That work now is coming because there is people there who are doing their job. So I think that is the work that we're doing there. Polling from Lizeka, the point I need to deal with, perceptions. There are no perceptions of polling. I mean, we have explained that we ourselves observe what people say about us as the ANC. Over time, we observe what people say about us, that our numbers are going down, and then we're polling at 30 or 40%. We observe that. We have been in that situation for the longest of time, since we came into power. At some point, when I said to Khutatu that I expected people to be polling us at 30% because there's a lot of negativity around us, they blew it out of proportion and lied and said that I'm saying the ANC will be 30% next year. It's exactly what I was addressing. I'm repeating it again. When people don't have electricity, and then they've been in the dark for the longest of time, who are they blaming for that? They blame the ruling party. We bear the brunt more than just the guy in the street who promises you as an opposition that I'll take all your school kids to school for free when I come into power. We bear the brunt of the reality of what is happening here. I know of communities, they are still waiting for me in Eguruleni Zongizizu. I went there, they said, load shedding, what is that, Mbalula? Tina, we've been in the dark here for 3 years. I've been to Orange Farm. I've been to Soweto. Those people said, even this World Cup, Tina's years. And all of that. Tina, we don't have access to electricity. But let me break it down. You've got transformers, they are installed. And then you've got the Isnyoka. Then they draw electricity from that and into the transformer, they blow it up. And then you bear the brunt of that. If that transformer is blown away, the people of that community for not accessing electricity, they are not going to blame Zinyoganyong. When you go to them and ask for vote, they're going to say, hey, Tina Saz is voted and we've been in the dark. That's the brunt you bear as a ruling party. We know that. And everything will be blamed on us. And those things must be fixed. It means ESCOM must develop innovative ways of protecting these transformers. If we were to take the police to guard installations of transformers in the country where police officers are this number and society has grown in terms of numbers from the census point of view, I mean, this police will be taking them from a strategic task and putting them to guard transformers. Transformers must be guarded by patrols, by communities themselves. But communities are collaborating with criminals to get illegal electrification, particularly those who live in communities in the backyard. You arrive here, you come from the farms, you get a place to stay in Joburg, you stay in the backyard, and then you are connected through electricity illegally. Who bears the brunt of that is the government. We accept that. Transformers will be installed, and we say that new mechanisms must be found to deal with matters. We do have unconditional support for Palestine, and we've got reasons for that. And we don't apologize to anybody. Whether they can like us or not, but we will be on the side of justice. You can't oppress people and then think we'll be on your side. We too were oppressed here in this country. We were oppressed. United States under Reagan and the United Kingdom, Britain under Margaret Thatcher, they were on the side of our oppressors. The majority of people in the United States, citizens, were with us in the anti-apartheid movement. Here in South Africa, nobody is going to ask the ANC to abandon the Palestinian people and the Sahrawi people. It's not a favor to anybody. It's about us. We are a liberation movement. We know where we come from. We got liberated simply because of others were with us in order for us to be free. We've got a democracy today that is flourishing. We've got everything in this country because somebody somewhere had to stand at United Nations and say no to apartheid. Apartheid is an evil. What is happening against the Palestinian people is evil. And the ANC will be in the trenches and will be on the side of the Palestinian people. All what we seek between the two, the other one is a state, the other one is stateless. There's no state there. There's no army there. There is a semblance of an army, there is semblance of police. There is no state there. People are dying every day. And we are saying that let's have a two-state solution, living side by side in peace. That's what we want. And the ANC will then stand in support of the Palestinian people. We condemn the killing of Israeli citizens, innocent, in their thousands. We condemn, we have said it. The reason why TD, the world, and others is because of the political and ideological alignment in the world. They want us to say things that Joe Biden said unprovoked, unequivocally. And all American presidents past, including Barack Obama, they support the state of Israel. I don't want to say why, but they do support the state of Israel. The program to do away and endeavors to bring about peace ended at Camp David with Bill Clinton. All of them. They have not been. America, for every solution, for every problem, is arms. Joe Biden, there is a problem in Ukraine, will give you arms. There is a problem in Ukraine, will give you arms to arm yourself. Joe Biden, that is his answer. to everything, the American government. There is a problem, there is a challenge in the Middle East, and all of that, we will give you arms. That's what happens. Where does the notion of peace comes in? From a state and a superpower like America. Where does the notion of peace comes in? Yes, the Israeli government, Netanyahu, reacts the way he does, and so on. And they are now have bombarded a hospital in there. What do? Our answer can be we'll continue to arm the other group. We must at some point try to negotiate the path of peace in terms of what is happening there. Even here in South Africa, we never thought we'll sit around with apartheid people. We went and we sat down with them at the ultimate, and we had a negotiated peace settlement. The ANC sent us to Gaza. I was there, Nablus, West Bank, in Ramallah. I slept there. I was in Jericho when we were negotiating peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians, building bridges of dialogue, sharing our own experiences. That you give, you take. You don't go to a negotiated settlement with everything. If you want a negotiated settlement. When President Yasser Arafat died, we were there, talking peace among the Palestinians and the Israelis. And that is what we have been doing. And when developments politically from both sides came in, Likud on the other side and the others, Hamas on the other side, the moment of peace then stalled. Guns opened up. You can never achieve anything with guns. The innocent are victimized and they die. And the world must pause and never abandon the cause of the Palestinian people. We ourselves thought we will get to Pretoria with guns and topple the apartheid regime. We didn't. We fought very hard. We did have guns. But at some point, we got a negotiated political settlement. And that's what we got here in South Africa. And others are criticizing it. They say it was sellout and all of that, but this country could have gone to civil war. It's not. Through a vote, we are getting out of the shackles of some of the elements of a negotiated settlement that were to compromise. But South Africa is a stable democracy today. It is a stable democracy. I don't know why you are interested in deployment of people, David Masondo. It's an alignment. Masondo is capable. David is capable. It's an alignment because the OR Tambo Political School is a project of the ANC. Makura is full-time. Masondo was never full-time. I know you will refer to the seminar that he organized, which seminar was a matter that we handled with him, but eventually it went ahead. Who's the fellow who was running the seminar from Zimbabwe? Ibo Mandaza. He makes all sorts of allegations. I don't want to respond to that because he doesn't understand what he's talking about. I've got respect for him as an intellectual and so on. ANC will never suppress anyone. We did not want that to continue and it becomes his pulpit alone. South Africa, we can't give a platform to dissidents, to criticize other countries and all of that. They've got a right here in this country. But if you want an honest dialogue, you must have a dialogue of minds. If you are a Democrat, he must come there and tell us that we are wrong about Zimbabwe, not to give us a lecture. He must tell us. I'm prepared to have a seminar with him. These things he say about President Mbeki and myself and all of that, he must then call, OR Tambo must have that kind of a school. Must not be a propaganda tool for one group here in South Africa that doesn't like Mnangagwa as a president and ZANU-PF. And then they come here, use the platform. The ANC is a democratic organization. We are enthused by the fact that We ourselves have accepted dissent even within our ranks. So don't come here and use our platform and one-way traffic will listen to you, one lecture. Bring everybody, let's debate, including the Secretary General of the ANC. Mbalula, come and tell the world why you say this on behalf of the ANC in terms of Zimbabwe. I will. So, we clarified that issue, but Masondo didn't want to listen. He went ahead with it. He had that. I think they satisfied themselves for what they wanted to achieve, to bash at people. They didn't want a debate. They wanted to bash. So they got their platform. But Makura is a political commissar of the ANC. He's the man responsible for ideological thinking in the movement. That's what Makura is about. So Makura is the principal, meaning he's responsible for political education and the political school. So that's why we have Makura. So that's why we say Makura as political head must be linked to the term of office of the National Executive Committee, must be linked so that the new executive, whenever it comes, it appoints its new board and its new commissar. So it is not just running like that. David, brilliance, politically advanced, he will continue to play a role there. But running the school is Makura's job now. That's what we are saying. Gordon's removal, no, we don't just remove people. We deal with issues, and ministers are held to account. I've given extensive. I know Lizeka writes at length about this, and they give him wrong reports and so on. And they say I clarify myself every weekend. I don't clarify myself, by the way. I explain, because I was distorted in KZN. When I acknowledged President Zuma and President Mbeki, and I said President Mbeki is an elder. When he expresses his views, we must accept them, even if we don't like them. That's what I said. Don't jump to the point where every time an older person speaks to you, you think that is all negative. Even if he says things that impact negatively on our organization, we need to listen to that. And I tried to be sociological about it and said that when you grow older, you become younger, meaning you've got a license. When I was youth, I was militant. I said things that when I'm old, I can't say. When I grow older, I learn fear. Before I say everything I think. When I was younger, I didn't care. I could say things that people will rumble and do what and say, this young man is mad. Older people, when they go older, they become young. They've got the license to say anything because they've got nothing to fear from us. We don't owe them. They don't want to be deployed. They don't want to be presidents. So they say things without prejudice. Bah! In public. That's what they do. When President Mbeki says things, even where I'm seated, I think, hey, or President Zuma or Mutante, that thing does not need me all the time to release a statement to contradict an old man who has given his life and who has given his time and who's giving counsel and advice. That counsel can come in many ways. I may say to them, hey, can't we talk aside? But remember, they've got all the time. They look at us, and then they can say things. Society respect them. These are elders of our country. These are elders. Mandela is gone. We are remaining with President Zuma, with Mutlante, with Mbeki, and all others. Ketina in the ANC were blessed. We've got many. Some have not even led government. So there are many. So from time to time, they don't speak to the press. We've got the Veterans League who put Snooki. Who am I to muzzle Snooki? To tell him speaking or 12 as chatting or 4. I can't do that. He can speak anytime he wants. He can convene me. I don't need the diary. That's exactly what I was saying when I was talking about. So somebody somewhere who's overzealous, who's trying a political party between himself and his wife, wanted to be relevant. So I won't mention him by name. Then I responded to that and said that, hey, because he said I'm saying older people are senile. uyabona, and all of that. I didn't say that. Kage ndithi abantu abadala bayalibala abathenteni. We must respect their views, because ANC members have got a tendency that instead of engaging with the view, they attack the person. When President Mbeki raised an issue with the ANC or in public, engage with the issue, not who he is and his past. He will be reminded of HIV and AIDS and all of that and so on. Let's get to the issues. When Zuma speaks as a former president, they will tell him about the era of the state capture. Let's deal with the content. When he speaks, especially in our platforms, let's deal with the content, not rush to say, he doesn't have brains, he doesn't have this and that. As the SG of the ANC, that is what I am conveying to our membership and to society, to respect the elders. That's what I'm talking about. And I had to clarify it because I was being distorted as the mouthpiece of the ANC. So I had to clarify that. And even Praveen, because Praveen didn't feel good, you know, when I said move or be moved. So I didn't say move from cabinet. I was saying move faster or you'll be moved, like we'll push you. You see? Yeah. No, let me explain to you. What we are doing now, what we're doing now, including convening ministers, we are pushing them to deliver on their responsibilities. And that's what we're doing. If they don't move on the things that they've committed themselves that they are doing in government and the ANC is looking at them, then the ANC must answer the question. Why should we keep this person here? Because he's not moving. We were in a meeting last week, he said, no, this barometer of gauging service delivery is not a once-off event. I explained to them in the NEC meeting. And they approved, the NEC approved. It's not a once more event. You are going to be judged on the basis of your work, not that of any other thing. In the last meeting, comrade, you told us the following. Where are we now in relation to that? So that when we speak on behalf of the ANC, we get criticized. We can give answers. That's what we mean. It's not about saying that people will be moved or somebody is feared. There's nobody who's feared. All what we are emphasizing, and which is what the president has spoken about, is that there must be decorum. I didn't want comrades to leave the NEC meeting with the belief that Mbalula is favoring me against that one. Things are clearer of where we are heading, but it's not an attack and comparison to them. So that is the point, and that we're dealing with at the level of the... Lastly, coalition framework remains. The NEC have mandated us, which I convene this coalition. In the next 2 weeks, we'll convene this coalitions to look at our participation in these coalitions. And the NEC was very clear. We must also look at the collaboration we've got with some of the political parties. I won't mention them by name. We need to look into that. And that's what we'll do in the next 2 weeks when we sit, but in the context of our coalition. So when we get to the special virtual meeting, one of the issues we are expected to give report on will be on this question of coalitions, will be on the Integrity Commission. Integrity Commission, there are new reports that they've processed. We're processing the terms of reference, and then at the same time, Integrity Commission, we're giving all the 91 reports they've given us. We're giving an account. We'll give them an account what happened to those reports. If they've not been attended to, we will refer them back to this new NEC to finalize. So that's the special meeting we're going to convene. So we don't want touch and go on integrity matters. We want a detailed, clearer understanding of what is going to happen. But after that, we are going to, even before the special meeting, to convene a meeting of all provinces. It will also be virtual with Integrity Commission so that they can give a report on how they want to work as integrity without us, so that we deal with matters And comrades understand what is integrity, and then integrity also must be supported by clearer terms of reference of how it works. So it's less than a year, and we've covered so much ground, and we're still going faster. I mean, comrades were complaining in this NEC, they say the agenda is heavy, but let me tell you, in that heavy agenda, we presented everything, and more than 80 people, all of them spoke by Monday. We started on Saturday. And in between that, we celebrated the Springboks. And you can imagine in the celebration of the Springboks, it goes up until late, and then you have to wake up in the morning. So we did all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. I am certain that none of us have follow-up questions. That iteration and reiteration was quite extensive, but I still see a forest of hands. So shall I turn to my colleague, and I'm going to ask that we keep it short, but you have respected us by being here. So please go ahead, and then immediately after you, the colleague at the back.
Thank you. From the Star newspaper. I'm not sure if the NEC may have discussed this issue. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen reports of children dying as a result of allegedly eating poisonous foods, allegedly from spaza shops. I don't know if that issue came up and if it was discussed and what is the way forward, because we are dealing with a bigger issue of food that is unregulated, food that comes and don't know, and basically these people are closer to our homes and it's a danger.
Thank you, Sabonga. Thank you very much. I take it that those are the last two hands. I will then turn to the SG.
Yeah, as spaza shops, there was a reflection on that. Obviously, Minister of Small Medium Enterprises did not feature in the agenda of this meeting, together with Minister of Labour. They are going to feature because as the ANC, we want to take a massive campaign on doing away with illegal immigrants in our townships, running spaza shops there. We are going to join communities, not in a form of dudula illegally, but we can't allow that. Obviously, the illegal, unregulated foods is not even negotiated. It's illegal, it's criminal. People must be arrested. That's where the authority of the state comes in. And if communities are exposing that, the ANC must be at the helm of joining the communities in those struggles. We must join our people in those struggles. It's got nothing to do with xenophobia. Yes, there are other people who've got such tendencies, but there are not many in our country who've got hatred for foreigners for one reason or the other. Just natural hatred. Just like somebody who was insulting us from Israel, saying we are subhumans. You know, the person who called us subhumans was verwoerd. An Israeli leader, Rabbi or something, called us, South Africans, and the ANC as subhumans, hedgehogs. The person who called us that is verwoerd. He said we are not complete human beings. We are half human, sub. We are something else. They call us that. And then what will they call the Palestinians? They call the Palestinians subhumans. They call us subhumans for supporting self-determination of a people. That is that. So we need to close these spaza shops. If the state is not leading in legislation, when there is legislation on these matters, I spoke to Stella Ndabeni. She told me that if we don't act, people will take law into their hands. They will. They will close them by force, the spaza shops in the townships. When I go to my township where I grew up, and I go to the big rallies, I talk about spazas. Spaza shops are even in the deep rural, in the Eastern Cape, in Limpopo. You get there, the shop is written, Kwano Amen, and then comes another guy outside from Pakistan, and all of that. And he doesn't have papers. You know what has also happened with these spaza shops is that our people, because these people, when they come with cheaper prices and all of that. Our own people have rented these spaza shops to the Pakistanis. That's what has happened in our country, the sad story. Some of the people who are recipients of RDP houses, they've rented those houses to the Nigerians. I was Minister of Police deep in Hope Bay. RDP houses are rented to foreigners, illegal foreigners. So we need to deal with that. So the spaza shop issue did not get a detailed account on it in terms of this meeting, but labor and small businesses have got to respond to this question of spaza shops in our country. There is law that regulates the spaza shops in our townships. Zintle, when you are a minister of DERCO, you speak to everyone. The fact that you catch that and then want to make it a big issue, you are a diplomat. You speak to everyone. I was never a diplomat. I was a president of the International Socialist Youth. I was a member of Socialist International, led by Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of UN. We went with a delegation from Norway. We met with the Palestinians and the Israelis in Jericho. And on the side of the Palestinians, there was chief negotiator, and we talked also to the Israelis. But that was not a meeting for the public, and we were there to share our own experience of South Africa, how to get to a negotiated political settlement there in the Middle East. This Aziz Pahad, we bid farewell, he did a lot of this work. Even in Iraq, when we got into Iraq, talking to Saddam Hussein and all of that, this is what we do on a daily basis. When President Mbeki was president, we went to Iraq. We talked to Saddam Hussein, Tariq Aziz and all of them. Aziz Pahad was there, working with Nkosazana and them. They spoke to these people and said, allow the multilateral approach. And then they said, no, their tombstones will be erected here in Iraq. And then the Americans made up a story and said they are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, when they lied. South Africa was there. Naledi Pandor did nothing wrong. She's doing a job. If we want to send things now to Gaza, who are you going to talk to? You must talk to Hamas. And then she's been insulted left and right. She did so. There's nothing wrong she's doing. She's doing a job. That's what diplomats do, ministers do. I've just given you an example. As we sleep under the lights, it becomes dark day and night. There are people who are pursuing peaceful means. And they don't call press conferences. And they meet with even difficult people. In my life, even in Cote d'Ivoire, we met in the camps of the rebels, talked to people there with guns. You talk to them. Special envoys and everything are there for that. It's shuttle diplomacy left and right. You don't just talk to a press conference. Our minister, hands off. Hands off our minister, Naledi Pandor. She's got the right to talk to anybody. Anybody. She's got the right to do a job. As long as she does not compromise the policy, foreign policy of this country. She's not. She's advancing peace. She's advancing peace, and that's what she's doing. She can talk to the Israelis as well, government to government. But we are a political party. What the ANC says sometimes is extreme to government. You must understand, somebody talked about trade relations. Government manages government to government and trade relations. We are a political party. We've got the features of a political party and a liberation movement. We feel deep about an injustice meted against other people because that's what we stand for. Naledi Pandor doesn't have to repeat what I say. She can be a diplomat. I'm not a diplomat. I'm an activist. I'm a leader of a liberation movement, the African National Congress, that fight against imperialism and the oppression of people everywhere in the world. That's what we stand for. We as the ANC, the African National Congress. So sometimes our government tend to be judged by what its party does and do. We are marching on Friday in Pretoria. We are picketing there at the Israeli embassy. We are. And we invite everybody, peace-loving, in the world. It doesn't matter the political party you belong to. Come, let's march together. Let's express this pain. Let's express this solidarity with the people of Palestine. Let's go, let us be in the streets. Let us call for everything, of which we as the ANC were very clear, that there's something must be done about the situation in that country. So we are very clear about that. Lastly, coalitions. Let me close by saying coalitions, we are not reconsidering coalitions. We must give the media our document that Makura presented. Mahlengi, just give them the document. Yeah, just give them the document. Maybe he was giving them snippets. Yeah, you will get it. Now I'm unbanning it. I'm unbanning. What? No, I can't give you everything. You want to strip me naked now. Yeah, no, we'll give you our coalition perspective, you understand it. Mahlengi will give you that document. The NEC have reaffirmed that perspective on coalitions. And then what the NEC have said is that given the inputs in the NEC, go as the coalition task team, look at our participation in these coalitions, and then they did mention about some political parties and all of that. We will look into that, and then we will then present to the NWC and the officials and to the special NEC on this matter with regard to the coalition. So there is no decision that we must get out of coalitions and so on. There is no such a decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I did want, with your permission, SG, just to underscore details of the march to the Israeli embassy on Friday, commencing at 10 o'clock. We will issue a detailed media advisory with all of the details, but it is happening in partnership with a number of allied organizations, faith-based communities, strong members of the Muslim community. That is just the only detail I wanted to advance here by way of an announcement, but there will be a detailed media advisory in that regard, the one that the SG has spoken about. With that said, this brings us to the end of this presser. Thank you very much.